What is up, everybody? We are reacting to the finals gameplay. I've requested access to play myself. I don't know if I'll be able to or not, but starting yesterday there's a 2-week closed beta, and it just looks like a new take on an FPS shooter game, like a little bit like Battlefield, a little bit Valorant, Overwatch, COD, all mixed sort of in a way. And yeah, we're gonna react to a few different videos, not fully through.
About the finals. So for the core gameplay, the finals is a game that kind of tips the shooter genre on its side. You have plenty of elements of other games out there, like hero-based elements of what we'd probably be used to here on the channel of Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 abilities, or perhaps more accurately other games like Valorant, Overwatch, and others, but mix that in with the run and gun pace that this community on the channel may be used to with Call of Duty, but then also the pristine graphics and destruction you'd come to expect from franchises like Battlefield. That last one making a lot of sense when you realize that some of Embark used to work on prior Battlefield titles. But the core mode is an extraction-esque gameplay loop. Your team of 3 is competing with an additional other 3 teams, so 4 teams total, 12 players per match, to enter the arena, find and loot vaults with cash boxes, and take them to cash-out stations. Now,
The whole concept is really cool, and with all of the mechanics and gameplay design, I think it's going to be really fun, and it's free to play. They're planning to release it on console. It's not going to be on console yet, but it seriously looks like it could be great. It's got good graphics, good mechanics, good gameplay. I don't know about the balance, though. I can't say about that.
sounds easy enough, right? Well, that's where things get dicey, because when you're extracting the cash box, that's all you have and all you can carry. Your team won't need to assist you, or if you're feeling lucky, you can make a mad dash and go at it solo, but you're vulnerable if you do so. Additionally, when you're depositing it to said cash out stations, it's going to take a bit of time, so everyone knows where you're at, and naturally, they're going to want to be coming for you because you can steal those cash outs from them, which makes for some incredibly tense situations, like the clip you'll be seeing right now, where last second I was able to snag a hefty deposit and secure a win for my team. And so the team at the end of the round with the most money naturally wins. So gameplay loop out of the way, what's the good and the bad? How's it stack up? I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of things, so feel free to chime in either on the pros or cons list, but for now, here's what I've got. Let's start with the pros. Firstly, graphically, the game looks great, but that's me playing on an overkill rig with everything maxed out. Maybe it's something that doesn't translate as well to the everyday use PC, but it is something that graphically, I was pretty impressed here at this. And going alongside that, destruction was awesome. I thought that was really cool. There basically is no limit to what you can destroy. Roofs of buildings, the skywalk connecting the 2 main structures in the...
So what I like is it's a balance between like modern and futuristic gameplay. It's not fully like Black Ops 3, but it's not fully like World at War. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but like you see that there's like shields and there's different abilities and lots of mobility and just all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
High-rise buildings, staircases, walls, you name it, you could basically destroy everything, which is pretty cool. It can alter the gameplay loop and make no gameplay experience the same match over match. Additionally, there's lots of ways to play, lots of ways to get creative. With this game, you have a light, medium, and heavy setup, each of those offering their own specific weapons for each class, but what you can use across that is various different gadgets, things like a zip line, night vision, explosive and gas mines, sonar grenades, incendiary grenades, a goo grenade, which...
So it's class-based, but it's very open to interpretation, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. Like, weapons are sort of locked on characters, but, like, you can use different gadgets and abilities and stuff. And it's just, it feels, like, open. Like, they want you to, like, be able to learn one character and then go to the next, and it won't feel too different, but it'll be different gameplay within the same genre.
Goo is something that you can end up using, as funny as it sounds, to like wall off different areas and make it much harder for your enemies and opponents.
Like, look at that list of gadgets. Like, that's like a list like Rainbow Six Siege, almost. But Rainbow Six Siege is 7 years old.
To end up, say, stopping a cash deposit or things like that. You have things like defibrillators, gas and frag grenades, a glitch trap, tracking darts, APS turrets, among, again, all your other weapons and things that come along with that. So you have a lot of different ways to end up playing for your own type of play style, your own class, building that and customizing it to however you see fit. But again, you mix that in with destruction, all these different ways to traverse the map. It really makes it a chaotic but fun experience. But beyond just in-game ways to play and alter the battlefield, there's multiple different ways to to literally play. There's quick match play, a tournament, which is a knockout style where the winner of each match moves to a higher bracket of other winners, a practice range, and even a tutorial that goes along with it. There's additionally hints towards what we can see with the upcoming ranked modes as well, which will be pretty cool here in the future. Another thing that I would chalk up as a pro here is I love the dynamic weather sequences. I want to say that we have 2 maps in the beta here, but there's multiple levels of variability because you could have things like it's set on day or night cycles, rain or shine, foggy, and so on. So it's one of those simple things that just makes each little match a little bit more unique, so it doesn't feel like you're playing the same map, the same gameplay loop over and over again.
See, this is stuff we need. They are in with the details. They're getting all the little things right, and that's what these big other games are getting wrong.
It's just one of those small things in variability that makes it a bit more unique. Additionally, I really like the random events that happen in game. There's things like a meteor shower, there's things like mega damage, which does more. So there's a lot of stuff here that can happen in game that alters how the gameplay itself is approached match over match as well. Sound design honestly feels pretty good so far. Didn't really get too far into like if you can hear footsteps or something like that, stuff that we as COD players have issues with all the time. I love the fact that there was infinite ammo. Realism with this, it's not necessary. You'll find that, of course, a lot of this is not realistic. The entire game's universe is a game show where we are contestants fighting for fame and glory. So yes, this...
I like it. And then we're going to get to the bad of the finals, because I'm curious. I do not know the bad of the finals yet. And then we'll go over and hear Chopper's little intro and maybe a little bit of that video.
Isn't super realistic, but as someone who can spray with my AKM and other weapons, I like having no limit on the ammo that I can use. Now, that said, there's a lot of cool things that I really enjoyed, but let's talk about some cons, because rightfully so, there are a handful that definitely need to be addressed. Firstly, there is a lot of bugs. Naturally, it's a beta, so that's going to happen, but there's some stuff that really is detrimental to the gameplay experience. The one that I've seen plenty of times on their Reddit and their Discord, but one that also happened to me that really killed the gameplay experience from when this happened to basically the rest of the time trying to get footage, is that there's a bug that, no joke, gives the player 0 hit reg, 0 bullet damage, and it's something that just the server is like, all right, we're not actually going to fire your weapons. So as you'll see in this clip, I mean, I'm unloading into a player right behind them, and not a single one of those barrel stuff to their back did any damage. Obviously, that impedes on the gameplay. Stuff like that is going to get fixed out, but it's just unfortunate that we have to see that in the first place. Inputs definitely feel like they have a delay to them. It seems like a 100 millisecond delay or something on a mouse and keyboard input. Didn't play on controller. I can only imagine that's a little bit worse, though.
100 millisecond delay? Like, is he talking about his ping? Because his system delay is not 100 milliseconds. I'll tell you that much.
At that point, respawn delays, I think, are a little bit too long for my taste, especially if you're down, then your team could get wiped and that resets the entire timer, so then you have to wait even longer. One of the big things I think is that I think there needs to be a bit more, fundamentally speaking, than just this one game mode. I think it's really cool right now, but I definitely think that the boredom factor will set in quickly if there isn't more gameplay loop for players to play a different way than just simply trying to collect cash and extract. Especially with this being free to play, I definitely think that it's something you can reel the players in, but can you keep them in that regard? Another thing that was problematic is that it doesn't seem like there's a way to enable any push to talk unless I'm blind, so you're relying on in-game pings, and if you need to communicate with random teammates, that's not always the best way to do so. It's not the most effective, and so hopefully we can see that implemented. Muzzle flashes...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's too bad yet. Like, I mean, some of the stuff looks bad, but, like, it is in beta. Like, you can't even get it on Steam unless you request access.
Kind of wild in this game, especially in darker environments or if you're playing on a night cycle, so that's something you'll definitely notice. Some weaponry feels like it needs a bit of work. I mean, that's to be expected. It's a closed beta. They just recently had their alpha, so there's definitely work to be done before this ships to a full launch version of the game. But for things that I noticed, the big one to me is that I love the feel of the AKM, or the AK comparison in this game, but with only 30 rounds of ammo to work with, the current TTK, it takes about a whole mag to secure a kill with. I don't necessarily want a TTK adjustment. I think that that does reward more accurate shots and, of course, outplay maneuvers, but I do think that we could use a little bit more ammo in that, like a 45 or 60 round mag on the AK, just so I can take an engagement or maybe two. There were a few times where I got stuck in a 2v1 and I was just hopeless because you can't win both of those gunfights with two people shooting at you with that 30 rounds. So that's one thing that I'd like to see adjusted. Maybe it's just me nitpicking. Some other settings I feel are kind of useless or without purpose when we go on to the next thing. You can't bind certain things from what I've seen. Full screen doesn't actually lock you to full screen if you have a multi-monitor setup and things of that nature. So binds could be a bit of game-breaking thing. The full screen and some other stuff, not so much, but still things that I would chalk up as needing to be fixed. And one thing that's just me being nitpicky is that you have an assigned ID when you log in here to this. It's independent of your Steam ID.
I bet the reason inputs feel the way it is he's using Epic RTX and Epic across all the settings on 4K. Like, even if you have a 4090, like, that's still a lot of stress, and it's gonna make it, like, inputs a lot more delayed based on your latency.
ID, and I don't think that you can change it at the moment unless I'm missing something, so you could be getting an invite from one of your best friends but not realize that it's them because it's an entirely different and randomized in-game ID. So that's something to consider. But that said, pros and cons out of the way.
Alright, that's about it for this video. We're gonna go to Chopper's
The Finals, this is a game by Embark Studios, and I was actually invited to a private playtest to check this game out. And I know a lot of people have been anticipating this one, so I did get my hands on this, and I was able to play it for a couple of hours and get some first impressions and stuff like that. So today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Finals before it does release, and whether this game is right for you. I'm going to talk about the things I really like about the Finals, and I'm also going to talk about the things I really don't like about this game. So just some brief background on the game. This is, again, made by Embark Studios, and the people that comprise this actual development studio itself is a bunch of ex-DICE employees. At least a lot of them are, and you can definitely see that style. You can feel that influence in the actual core of the game, everything from the art style to the literal gameplay mechanics as well. But the fundamental core idea behind the Finals is that you are in like this virtual game show, and your job is to battle other teams and try to acquire the most amount of money possible before the time limit ends. You can basically steal money from other teams, you can eliminate them and take theirs, or you can just extract money on your own. And that's how the basic game structure is set up. You know, you have these vaults that contain cash. All the teams rush for it and fight for it. Whoever can extract the cash and then bring it to a cash out station and defend it will, you know, increase your score. And so you can do this by playing aggressively. You can try to do it by third-partying people or playing passively. There's a lot of strategy baked within this game, which is a lot of fun. So I want to start about the things that I really did enjoy about the Finals and the things that I feel like really work. First things first, the core gameplay loop feels really solid, and what I mean by that is both movement itself and gunplay and stuff like that. There is one thing about the gunplay that's an extreme negative for me, but I'll get to that later in the video. But for the most part, the way that the player interacts with the environment and the world and how you get around is pretty intuitive and pretty smart. You do have a very battlefieldy kind of, you know, movement system, although it's slightly faster paced with the addition of the slide. There's a lot of zip lines and other ways to interact with the map. So as far as movement and theoretical gunplay go, it's actually very smooth and it's intuitive. You can tell that these people are experienced in FPS, so it's an extreme positive for me. The game just felt good to interact with in that way. Also, one of the selling points of the Finals itself is that, sure, this is sort of like an arena style kind of multiplayer game, but the thing that really turns this format on its head is the amount of destruction that is available. Basically, this entire map is one giant free-flowing sandbox in the way that however you choose to interact with the map will completely determine the outcome of the game. So every single weapon...
See, that's what I like about this game. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to get too much farther into this video. I know I didn't say a lot. I was getting into it. I think this game's going to be great.